So what happens when a world leader is just captured in a stunning military operation? The entire geopolitical board gets wiped clean, right? That's what we're diving into today. The 5 potential futures for Venezuela and the chaotic aftermath of President Maduro's removal.
Okay, so the news just dropped, and it is a bombshell. U.S. forces have reportedly captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro in the capital, Caracas. I mean, this is a move that has absolutely massive, unpredictable consequences for the entire region, and really for the whole world.
So you're probably asking, how did this even happen? Well, the details that are coming out point to a remarkably quick 2-hour operation. Our sources are saying this was only possible because of a U.S. intelligence network that's been deeply embedded inside Venezuela for a long, long time.
Now, something this dramatic, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. The international community, well, they had to react immediately, and the responses have been split right down the middle, creating this instant geopolitical fault line.
On one side, you've got the expected outright condemnation from powers like Russia and China. They see this as, a flagrant violation of national sovereignty. But what's really interesting is the other side. It's not exactly a round of applause. Instead, there's this deep sense of legal unease, even among traditional U.S. allies.
And yeah, this discomfort isn't just coming from adversaries. When even your closest partners are struggling to legally justify what you just did on the world stage, well, it really highlights the diplomatic tightrope the U.S. is now walking.
But let's look past the official statements for a second. The analysis we're digging into suggests that to really get what's going on here, you have to look under the hood. Geopolitics is so often driven by economics, and in Venezuela, that means one thing above everything else.
The official reasons given for an operation like this usually center on things like drug trafficking or human rights abuses. And look, those are serious issues in Venezuela, for sure. But the question our source material is asking is that the whole story? Or is this really about getting access to a critical global resource?
And this right here, this chart tells the real story. It's all about the oil. You got to remember, Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves on the planet. As things stand, Chinese companies control a whopping 75% of the exploration rights. The U.S., Chevron is the lone major American player in there with just 25%. So this isn't just politics. It's a high-stakes battle over black gold.
Okay, so the central figure is gone. The whole world is watching. And the big question becomes, what happens now? Our analysis points to 5 very distinct paths Venezuela could go down from here.
So here's the roadmap for what's next. We're going to look at the chance of the system just carrying on without Maduro, the possibility of a popular uprising, the U.S. trying to install a friendly government, a direct U.S. administrative role, and then finally, the most dangerous scenario of all, a hybrid conflict.
All right, let's jump into this first possibility. The hope in Washington might be that if you take out the leader, the whole government crumbles. But what if it doesn't? What if you just get a new face, but the same old system stays in place?
We have to remember, Maduro isn't just some isolated guy. He's the head of this powerful and really entrenched leftist political movement called Chavismo. You've got key figures like Vice President Delcy Rodriguez who are still there, and they're not backing down. Simply removing one man might not be nearly enough to dismantle an entire movement. Now for path number 2. This scenario imagines that change doesn't come from the top, but instead bubbles up from the streets, driven by the Venezuelan people themselves.
For sure, seeing Maduro captured could embolden opposition supporters to pour into the streets and demand a total regime change. The big danger, though, is that these things can spiral out of control fast, and you end up with anarchy, riots, and widespread violence. And ironically, that kind of chaos would be terrible for the very oil and business interests this whole operation may have been designed to protect in the first place.
Okay, let's look at the third, and maybe the most direct strategic play here, trying to install a friendly, US-backed government to take over. So this would mean the U.S. throwing all its weight behind an opposition leader, maybe someone like Maria Corina Machado. But it is nowhere near that simple. The country is incredibly polarized. Any leader who looks like they were handpicked by the U.S. would face a massive legitimacy problem from day one, not to mention a ton of interference from Russia, China, and Iran, who are all determined to keep their own influence there.
The fourth path is a little different. It moves away from trying to pick a winner and moves toward a more direct, hands-on administrative role for the United States, at least for a while.
In this scenario, the U.S. would set up some kind of interim administrative body. The goal? To basically normalize Venezuela.
You'd be trying to stabilize the shattered economy, get the oil production flowing again, and basically pave the way for new elections. Elections that, after things have cooled down, would probably favor a more U.S.-aligned candidate. And that brings us to the fifth, and honestly, the most dangerous potential future for Venezuela: the total fragmentation of the state into what's called a hybrid conflict.
This is the absolute nightmare scenario. Instead of a new government, you get no government at all. The country literally shatters into pieces, controlled by rival militias, political factions, maybe even warlords. If you want a real-world picture of this, think about places like Sudan, where the collapse of any central authority has just led to decades of instability and fighting. It's a total quagmire.
So, let's zoom out. What does this huge event in one country really mean for global power competition? Is this just a one-off, or is it a sign of what's to come? According to the analysis, a direct, boots-on-the-ground war between the U.S. and, say, Russia or China over Venezuela is really unlikely. At the end of the day, the global economy is just too interconnected. Major business interests on all sides have a very powerful reason to avoid a full-blown war that would just wreck the world's markets. But that doesn't mean the competition just stops. It just changes its shape. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative question. Are we watching the first battle in a new era of great power competition, a kind of hybrid warfare that's not fought on traditional battlefields, but through swift interventions, economic pressure, and proxy fights in fragile states just like Venezuela?